India continues to be a key strategic market for Adidas, and the company continues to strengthen its positioning in India through a consumer-first retail strategy, tapping into localized consumer passion points and leveraging its partnership with the BCCI as the official kit and jersey sponsor. From investing heavily in the most celebrated sport of India, cricket, to laying a foundation for a jersey culture, Adidas is aiming to strengthen its position and India's position on the global sports map. Adidas also unveiled the new Team India jersey to reinforce its support to athletes. In a chat with me, Neelendra Singh, who is the Managing Director of Adidas India, shared the key points in the sportswear major's India game plan and how it is racing to become the largest sportswear brand in the country. Listen in. Hello and welcome to Storyboard 18. Neil, it's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks, Delshad. Good to see you.
So, Neil, let's just get straight into it and let me ask you, the T20 World Cup coming up, big time for, of course, a brand like Adidas, sportswear major, massive tournament in a, cricket frenzied nation. So tell me, Neil, what are your plans? What are your plans for this World Cup, especially coming out of the IPL? What are you looking at? Where are your focus areas? How are you going to make the most of this time?
Oh wow, fantastic! So this is something I'd love to talk about, Dilshad. It's a massive investment. We made this partnership happen last year, and then I hope you noticed when the World Cup, the one-day World Cup happened last year, the sea of blue that we created through the jersey. So basically, I think while T20 is a major milestone, but I guess you have to look at cricket from a long perspective, from a long-term perspective. Cricket, cricket's not only a sport, but it's an emotion, it's a platform. You tend to reach deep into India through cricket, both from a viewership perspective, also through a product perspective. And so to your question, we're very excited about T20. New jersey, you see this new travel kit, new training kit, and as I've said before, the deep interest in cricket is to tell the cricket story through the Adidas lens and drive jersey culture in India. And I would say every time there's a pivotal event like this and India plays, it gives an opportunity for us to tell the story of cricket, the story of our athletes, integrate them into a campaign like we have in a global campaign right now, and of course sell tons and tons of jerseys like we did before.
We'll get to your point about jersey culture because that's very interesting to me. But let me just sort of dig a little bit into your BCCI kit deal. How are you? Elaborate on what your strategies are. Dig a little bit deeper into some of the key points in that strategy to make the most of your partnership with the BCCI, where others perhaps, like your rival Nike previously, hasn't exactly been able to leverage to its hilt. What are you doing differently?
Okay. Great question. A few things, Delshad, and I think it's important first of all to start from the athlete in mind, and I guess that's the moot point of all of this. So therefore the athlete has to feel better and perform better wearing our product. We're essentially a product company, and hence the first point of the strategy is to get the product right for the athlete. And you saw that in the last World Cup, you see this in the World Cup as well. The interesting thing is that the entire imagination of the fan starts from the jersey. So getting the jersey right is actually the moot point. So that's, as I said, that's a pivotal point. The other point is to get the jersey to the fan, and that's a huge part of the strategy, because to be able to monetize that investment, let's say, or to be able to inspire millions and millions of fans through the product is again the core of what we do. And I guess the three things that we've done differently, I would say it's like a triangle. One is to get the product right. You have to get the product right. It has to look good. It has to perform better. It has to inspire the athlete as well as the fan. The other is to make it accessible. And I say this with a lot of respect for our consumers here. Inspiration counts for nothing if you can't access that product. So pricing becomes key in a market like India. So we priced the cricket jersey. So getting the pricing right helped at two levels. One, to create the athlete's product at a great price point, and then to really go deep through a 999 product, the fan jersey. The third aspect of all of this is to make it accessible from a distribution perspective. Right. If it's priced right, if it's a good product, then it has to be available everywhere. Typically, we can't expect the fan to come to us. We had to go to the fan. So our stores, our e-com sites, our partners like Myntra, airport lounges, hotel lobbies, mobile vans, we were everywhere. So in summary, if you ask me what did we do right or different from the others, is of course get the product right.
Create this ecosystem of sorts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get the pricing right and get the distribution right. Make sure it's accessible through price point and distribution to almost every fan in the country.
And how are you accelerating these strategies? You call it an experiment previously. Yep. Now, of course, it's not. Yes. What are you dialing up for the coming months?
Yeah, we learned that the consumer doesn't respond or only responds to the let's say the authentic jersey or of the fan jersey. So that's something that we're dialing down, making it simpler from a price laddering perspective. The other thing we're dialing up this year, which is again was a kind of a pilot last year, is quick commerce. We delivered more than I think 60,000 jerseys within, let's say, 10 to 12 minutes through partners like Blinkit and Swiggy. This year, by the benefit of the learning of the last time, we're really doubling down on those platforms because the use case is very different. If you want a jersey right now, the match is today, it might be just too late for the consumer to go to a store or order online, and therefore quick commerce is interesting. Let's double click this time.
Back to your point about accessibility.
Oh, 100%.
You have to go there.
Yeah.
Don't expect the consumer to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the other thing we're about to do, and we won't do it this time, but we'll do it later as we get better with getting the key products right, is to expand the cricket narrative through cricket-inspired products. We did that last time over through graphic T-shirts, graphics that were inspired by Rohit Sharma, by the Indian team. We'll do it more off as we get into cricket. It's just the early days, I guess. This is the second season. Our focus has been, I guess, mostly been getting the jersey right and get the distribution right for the key product. Going forward, cricket-inspired range. I guess that's something that you could see, and maybe collabs with designers and cricketers, etc. No, haven't thought about it yet. But these are natural extensions. Once you get the core right, these are natural extensions in a brand like ours. Anyway.
Absolutely. Where are you seeing that growth for Adidas in terms of other sport outside of cricket?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the year of sport, Delshad. I mean, every few years there's a year like this, which we have now. We have the Cricket World Cup, T20 World Cup.
Convergence of all these.
You're right. Yeah. Then there's Copa, there's this Euro, then there's Olympics, and then it's followed by T20 Women. So a lot of things happening at this point of time. And we have a stake in all sports. So we will celebrate globally Euro as much as we would do cricket in India at this point of time. Of course, India will also celebrate Euro. So football is a key category. And to answer your question, apart from cricket continues to be an India first category, still global, in the process of globalizing it. But a true global category which has, let's say, demand and it inspires almost every athlete globally is football. So football is a key growth category for us. Running is coming of age in India. You know, the amount of marathons that I've had, that we've been having over the last few years has really, taken off. So running is a growth category. We also make products in India. So we have a two-layered strategy in India. We of course bring global products in India. So our top products like Supernova or Adi Zero are a part of what we sell in India. But we also make products for India or at price points where let's say we can address a lot of Indian consumers. So running therefore has also taken off in the last few years. And you might know we have a sports-inspired, let's say, business called Originals. That's where we create iconic footwear like Samba, Superstar, Stan Smith, and Samba recently was rated the sneaker of the year. That's the other growth category. Doubles every few years, and therefore Adidas today is able to capture the business through sport, performance sport, running, football, cricket, through performance product. But on the other side of the spectrum, there's also sport-inspired fashion, which is also for places like India, it's a massive category. The TAM is huge.
Absolutely.
And global trends today hit India much faster than they used to, let's say, maybe a decade ago. So every time there's a global trend, we are able to harvest it in India and Samba is actually is a clear example of a trend that is happening right now. So originals continue. So I would repeat, so if you keep cricket outside, football, running, and originals would be the other areas where we're investing, and those categories are growing multifold.
You have the sneaker culture. You have people, people, executives, putting on sneakers and, a suit. And so there's this acceptance and this excitement around the category.
True.
As a leader of Adidas in India, what are you thinking? Like, how do you leverage it? And how do you even leverage moments like this, like the Sunak episode that happened, right? Does a brand just sort of sit back and let it happen?
Yeah. I mean, those are organic.
It's entirely organic. Yes, we know that. But, I mean, do you think of ways to leverage that? I mean, how do you get into the conversation?
Can't comment. I mean, didn't think of leveraging at all. I mean, it was good on him to wear it. And then these things go where they go, frankly.
It takes a life of its own.
Exactly. It takes a life of its own. It's almost dead. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But to your point, Delshad, very excited. I think we clearly having a moment. I think the tipping point is coming. Sports coming of age in India. Sport doesn't have a language. Sport unites everybody. It's probably one of the most apolitical categories to be in, actually. So I guess we clearly love.
I don't know about that. We've seen very political campaigns from sportswear majors as well.
True. Yeah, you could say that. And if you want to make it political, yeah, it can get political. But generally, I think it's quite insulated from many other, let's say, influences globally, and everybody would play sport in that sense. So
unify in that sense.
Clearly unify. And so from our perspective, we're super excited because, as I said, sports coming of age, more and more Indian consumers are getting health conscious. More and more Indian consumers are trying a new sport. Pickleball and paddle is coming to India, and now you see more and more of that happening.
Is that on your radar?
Yes, yeah, we do a pretty good job with paddle globally, and at some point of time when India is mature enough, we'll of course address paddle as well. So that part of the business is very exciting because India is winning more medals. I mean, we in Olympics, in Asian Games. So we're also creating world champions. We're also moving from skill-based sports like shooting and archery to now endurance sports. So javelin, athletics. So like it's clearly the tide's coming, and India is coming of age in performance sport, which is good for all of us because we get excited when we are able to influence the athlete's performance through our product. And then to your point, we can carry down that inspiration in a massive way because the consumer in India is ready, and for that we have both. We have the opportunity to let's say amplify the sport categories through making in India, making at price points that performance products at price points that are relevant for India, and then the fashion on the fashion side, India is pretty quick to catch on to everything that is fashionable. So yeah, very very stoked about the entire opportunity, and I think it's still day one, like they say. We have a long way to go.
Absolutely. Going back to my point about now taking sort of a broader view on Adidas and its growth in India and its strategy, you of course you've been at Adidas a while now.
Yes.
And you've had international stints, then you came back to India in 2019, just before the pandemic. And, of course, a lot of businesses were hit during that time. And given the fact that, you're a sportswear brand, Adidas would have been, of course, hit remarkably as well. But how did you use that time to perhaps, set the stage for this growth that you're planning for, especially when you've seen competitors like Puma, of course, racing ahead in many ways. So what's the broader view on Adidas getting back that share, getting back that accelerated growth, especially like you mentioned this year, which is the year of sport. Great platform, great time to get that sort of acceleration going. So what are you thinking? What are your, what's the crux of your overall strategy?
Few parts of the execution plan which we kind of were able to reset during the COVID or just after the COVID are the following. We realized the power of digital at that point of time, so we doubled down on digital. And 21 or 22, we received the global platform, our adidas.co.in, came to us during that point of time. So we were able to elevate our online experience through a global app, global website, which wasn't there earlier. So hence the consumer experience went to a completely different level, because now you could shop on the global Adidas platform. That was brought in just after COVID. Along with that came our CRM program called Adi Club. We have millions of consumers on the platform, and because we're a sport company, we can give a bunch of experience that money can't buy. Tickets to the finals of the Football World Cup, tickets to the finals of whatever, meet and greet with sports, let's say athletes. So there was this element of really amplifying digital that happened during that point of time. The other piece that we really doubled down was our strategy about making in India. You know how India is, if you draw the pyramid, the first 80 million consumers are like anywhere else in the world. That's a heavily contested, let's say, marketplace in tier 1, tier 2 towns. But the next 150 to 200 million consumers are ready. They're shopping digitally. And therefore distribution isn't a challenge. The question is, do we have the product to reach that consumer through the digital distribution? And that is when we created a lot of product ranges relevant for India. So creating products
made
for India. Made for India, and made in India as well in many cases. And that helped us really reach and onboard or recruit millions and millions of consumers through new product and through new distribution, largely digital. The third aspect of what we really cranked up after COVID is we said, listen, we have the obligation to drive or to decide or showcase the flight path to the consumer from an experience perspective. So we doubled down on our own retail strategy, and we have about 80 odd stores, all in key cities in AAA locations. We either took them back from our franchise partners as part of the strategy, or expanded the real estate to be able to drive a higher or better consumer experience, while leverage the relationships with our franchise partners to double down on mid-market India for expansion of stores in that area. So two-pronged retail strategy as well. At the top of the pyramid, do it yourself, do in a larger, let's say, real estate, elevates the consumer experience, and the mid-market leverage the partnership with franchise partners to go deeper.
That,
So these three, so digital, amplifying digital, making it in India for that consumer, and then retail strategy. A combination of this has propelled the growth in the last couple of years, and we'll continue to continue to execute like this and outgrow competition for the years to come. Definitely.
What's your thought about what's happening with influencer marketing in India? Again, massive boom we're noticing here. Do you have some plans there? How do you think about it? And also, given your experience in other markets, what have you seen from a trends point of view?
Interesting. So personally, I would say, Delshad, it's clearly getting more personal, more relevant, more one-on-one, and I guess the role of traditional media is not diminishing, but clearly getting redefined. And of course, now there's an influencer who's speaking one-on-one. The interesting, I'll probably give a higher level answer in this, because the interesting thing about being in Adidas is that our influencer is the athlete. So in many ways, getting a product onto the athlete, ensuring that we are visible at the right places on the right athletes is a large part of our strategy. And when athletes perform, it doesn't matter if they win or lose, but we know we are influencing a large part of people on this earth. And therefore, strategy in India is not any different. We work with an extensive roster of athletes. We've been working with Rohit for a long time. Recently, we onboarded Jadeja. We have a couple of women athletes, cricketers as well now. Shriyanka and Renuka have been onboarded. We have a roster of women Olympians now that we have, because we feel all of them have a story to tell. All of them will perform to a higher level potentially when they wear our products. So Mirabai Chanu, Lavleena, Nikhat Zareen, Shelly Singh, a bunch of these athletes are a part of our influencing or influencer strategy. On the culture side, it's interesting. We do work with micro-influencers sometimes when we have to drive a pointed message. But from a very high level, you might know this anyway. We work with Ranveer for almost a decade now. He's very close to our heart. I mean, he drives the cultural agenda for us, and we also work with Deepika. So we've got Ranveer and Deepika on the culture side, and a bunch of athletes.
Got the power couple.
The power couple on that side, a bunch of really powerful athletes on cricket and non-cricket sport to drive the sport agenda, I would say. Yeah.
But it's also interesting because we are also seeing a lot of executives turning, in a sense, for their own companies and own brands as influencers as well. Has the way you think about your personal brand as an Adidas representative changed at all in the past few years? I mean, places like LinkedIn, for instance, right? We're seeing a lot of executives, CEOs, founders, for instance, really turning up their personal brand for the company brand.
I see that.
So, slightly personal, professional question there.
I see that.
Do you see yourself as a brand ambassador?
I think all employees are certainly brand ambassadors. When you work for Adidas and when you show up with the 3 stripes, I deeply feel, Delshad, you are a brand ambassador, clearly, because you stand for the ethos of the company, and you, of course, stand for the values and the 3 stripes. So clearly, I can say I and all our 60,000 employees, I'm sure, feel like brand ambassadors. That's point number 1. But I do feel that platforms like LinkedIn have become personal, and I guess the leaders are both expected and are willing to provide point of view. In my case, I'm not doing it any differently from what I would have done otherwise, but I do feel that I have the responsibility of talking cricket and representing cricket for India, and therefore getting that message across more than before.
So shaping that narrative as you go forward, in alignment, of course, with what
we stand for as a brand, and what cricket stands for as a sport, not only in India and globally as well. And I feel that responsibility.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Neel. It was lovely chatting with you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.